And first, this man was coming on here stating this, stating that, hey, um, uh, uh, the officers was racist, the officers was this, the officer was this. See, some officers, you need officers in this world, else this world will be chaotic, no matter if you like it or not, right? And you try to lie on these officers, and truth came out. Now, Tyreek, now you've been questioned. You did a good job on your Dolphin game, right? But this goes to show you tried, and the truth came out. Watch this.
It was only a few hours before the season's opening
Listen.
game. Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was 1 block away from
Mm-hmm.
Miami's Hard Rock Stadium when he was stopped by police.
Mm-hmm.
He was pulled from his car, surrounded by multiple officers, thrown to the ground. A knee was put in his back, and he was handcuffed. Now, tonight, after public outcry,
Pause. Y'all heard the description of the story. That's why you can't read the headlines. Let me run it back.
it was only a few hours before the season's opening game. Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was 1 block away from Miami's Hard Rock Stadium when he was stopped by police.
Uh-huh.
He was pulled from his car,
Pulled from his car.
surrounded by multiple officers, thrown to the ground. A knee was put in his back, and he was handcuffed. Now, tonight...
But why? Why was he handcuffed? Why was the knee put in the back? See, people don't ask the real questions why. Because this man think he's above the law. You really think he's above the law, and you play for the NFL. You have to represent the NFL in a certain limelight. So what happens if the NFL like, hey, you said this, you said that. We made sure that we got he played for what, the Miami Dolphins. So we made sure we got on the officer or publicly humiliated the officer. Come to find out, you actually publicly humiliated him. Can we talk about it? But let's continue. Because Tyreek, yeah, you did a good job on your Dolphin game, but your integrity and your morals and principles to me is way off.
After public outcry, and a lot of it, the Miami Police Department is releasing body camera footage of the incident, and it is disturbing to watch. Take a look.
Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I want to get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. I'm break that fucking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 What part of out is doing this thing? Hey, Drew. Hey, Drew. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting arrested, Drew. Get out, bro. God damn, twin. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're just confused.
Now, about a minute after this, and once Hill was handcuffed, he was again forced to the cement.
Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just surgery on your ears when we chill, bro. Chill, bro.
Now, tonight, Tyreek Hill it was only...
Okay. So the second part, they may have went a little bit overboard. People could say he was already under arrest. But he gave these officers a hard time from the beginning. Bro, all you had to do, you in a high visible position, right? Why embarrass the officers? All you had to do is say, okay, officer, grant me my ticket, instead of you playing with them, disrespecting them, rolling the windows up, then to roll the window back down, then to roll them back up on the officer. It's like, okay, he's above the law. So imagine they hardworking citizens doing their job. You just going to play an NFL game, and they like the disrespect. See, men don't tolerate no disrespect, no matter who you is. And to me, he disrespected them officers. He disrespected them officers. But let's continue.
A few hours before the season's opening game.
Let's watch it
Miami
again.
Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was 1 block away from Miami's Hard Rock Stadium when he was stopped by police. He was pulled from his car, surrounded by multiple officers, thrown to the ground. A knee was put in his back, and he was handcuffed. Now, tonight, after public outcry, and a lot of it, the Miami Police Department is releasing body camera footage of the incident, and It is disturbing to watch. Take a look.
Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I want to get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. Break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out.
It's funny when you use some form of aggression, and that's when people really start listening. This man asked this man 1,000, 100,000 million times, hey Tyreek, Hill, you on top of the hill, we need you to come down to the bottom of the hill. This man, officer said, get out 1,500 million times. When he put pause on him, right? When the officer snatched him and said, you know what, we're going to take matters into our own hand. When he snatched him on up on him out of that car, that coupe that was so low to the ground, he just said, come in, get up on out. That's when he started to get the respect that he needed. So I don't see the officer being wrong at all. Now let me engage in the chat real quick. I guess somewhere I don't see nobody. That's cap, that's a lie. I seen people come in and out, and don't pay attention to these numbers sometimes, because once I push end, I'm like, dang, I didn't know that many people came. They was watching it for an hour. It'd be like, I go on for 10, 20 minutes, and it'd be like 100 and something people that actually came. So let's just continue. I'm finding my streaming time to say, hey, when is best to stream? Late at night, early in the morning. So I'm just doing my algorithmic research, right? All I need is one person. If you honestly ask me, one person can tell another person, and another person can tell another person. Smash that like button, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the beginning, this is not the end. All I need is one, right? So let's continue. Now he calling on Drew.
I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? You understand? Not for you, but when we tell you. You're a little confused.
Now, about a minute after this, and once Hill was handcuffed, he was again forced to the cement.
Well, I don't get this. How you expect people to feel sorry for you now when you could have avoided all of this? Now you talking about you had surgery on your knee. I feel no pity. You think them officers gonna feel any type of pity for you after you done disrespected the officers? Man, can we talk about it?
Now tonight, Tyreek Hill speaking for the first time since that body camera video was released right here on CNN.
If I wasn't Tyreek Hill, worst case scenario, we would have had a different article, you know. Tyreek Hill, you know, got shot in front of Hard Rock Stadium.
The Miami Police Department says that they released this footage earlier than usual, quote, to reinforce the department's commitment to keeping the public informed. They've also placed one of the officers involved on administrative duties, that's important, while an investigation is being conducted. And the police union, they are defending the officers, saying that Hill was, quote, not immediately cooperating with the officers on scene who, pursuant to policy and for their immediate safety, placed Mr. Hill in handcuffs. Joining me now, Stephen A. Smith, the host of First Take on ESPN, is also the host of the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube.
Oh yeah, let's see what Stephen A. got to say.
I have to know what your reaction was when you saw the body camera video. Not just what we heard about, but when you actually saw it. And I remember a phrase you used earlier today, and it stuck with me. The ease of dehumanization. What was your reaction?
Well, I still feel that way from the standpoint that, you know, it was excessive. It was completely unnecessary on the part of the officers, particularly and specifically when he was handcuffed. And so I stand by everything that I said earlier this morning on ESPN's First Take and, of course, my YouTube.
I can agree with that. The second part after the handcuff was a bit aggressive. That was a bit aggressive. But this is after you done already emotionally corrupted the officers. They asked you to get out the car. Now, my thing is this. What's the law? If you get in a driving ticket or a speeding ticket, is it rightfully so that you must get out the car? Are they violating your rights? Because you don't have to get out of the car just to get a ticket, unless you committed a some form of crime. And just getting a ticket, a citation, isn't considered a quote unquote crime. It's just a ticket. So we're gonna see.
Show, the Stephen A. Smith show. I meant what I said when I said it was just unnecessary. And it just speaks to the ease with which black men can be dehumanized, because you've seen situations where people who happen to not be black have had issues with the police, and yes, they may end up in handcuffs and they be taken away, similar to what happened to golfer Scotty Scheffler in Kentucky a few months ago in May. But he was detained. He was put in handcuffs. He was detained. He was taken away. He was arrested. That certainly was not the case with Tyreek Hill. But in the same breath, to forcibly throw him to the ground face first, to know that there's 90+ degree weather and you're putting him on that asphalt, and in terms of that heat, and then afterwards he's standing up, you already have him cuffed. You have other officers around, and to feel the need to throw him to push him and shove him to the ground that way, to sit him down that way, was completely unnecessary, and it speaks to the excessive behavior of the police officers. But in fairness to police officers everywhere, and specifically those police officers there, when this latest body cam footage was released and we saw it, let me remind everybody, they did ask him to roll down his window.
Yes.
Not one, not twice, but at least 3 times. Then they also
hold on. Stephen A. Smith, they asked him 100 million times. They asked this man 100 million times, sir, you have tinted windows. We don't know what's behind these windows, right? Look at it from their perspective too. We don't know what's behind these windows, sir. Can you wind your window down? We don't even know who you are or care to know who you are. Can you wind these windows down? This man asked them, this officer asked him 1 million times. No response. When the officer decided to say, you know what, since I asked you to roll your window down, now my safety is on the line. It's time for me to see what's in the car and see what's going on. So how he actually told the story in the beginning, it was cop. He made it racial. He made it this, he made it that, but he didn't say, hey, they kind of did ask me and I was giving them a hard time type of thing. You know, you give people a hard time, you get a hard time in return. So I feel no pity, I feel no sorry. Now, do the police officer, some police officers use brute force? Yes, but in this situation, the second time where he was in handcuffs, I thought that was a bit extreme. But the first time, okay, cool. The second time after in handcuffs and you done did it again, now, what you got to prove now? You know? So now he's correct, right? But initially, he was highly disrespectful to the officers.
Out of the car. In each instance, there was hesitation on his part and a lack of cooperation. So when they say he was uncooperative, you can see why they feel that way. Now, again, I want to emphasize, that's no reason for them to go as far as they did. But in the same breath, him saying that he didn't know what he did and that he didn't do anything wrong, well, that's not entirely true. You're a black man in America. I will remind everybody of what I'm sure you would agree with, Laura. You roll down all your windows. You put your hand on that steering wheel. The last thing you want to do, especially if you have tinted windows, is leave your windows up.
Facts.
When the police officer is telling you
to roll
put
it down.
Because
Facts.
when you don't do something like that, we have seen and we have had a reason to sense that the worst possible thing could happen. Tyreek Hill did not do that. So when they say he was uncooperative, they did have a point with the latest body cam footage we saw.
And he was.
And yet, Stephen A. Smith, and you articulated a few points. I'm going to address them in turn. One, on the idea of cooperation. There are many people who would say there are instances of people fully cooperating, doing nothing wrong. And
yeah, people will say that, but we're not talking about that right now. Keep it in the context of what's going on. This is Terrell Hill and the Miami County police officers. Just keep it in that context. Because if you keep it in that context, to me, he was dead wrong. He asked for it. He asked for them to go overboard. He asked for it. He could have just got his ticket and kept it moving. Yeah, you would have been a little bit late to the game, but okay, oh well, you still would have played.
That is imparted around black and brown people around this country is there is no escaping those officers who endeavor to commit excessive force against you. That's from not all officers, but those who endeavor to do so. And the second point is, it strikes a lot of people that this was an ego issue, not one of force. I'm talking about for the officers. Officers are entitled to use force to repel a force used against them. But it seemed as though what they were reacting to was an attitude that they perceived, and they were reacting to the fact that he was slow in his efforts. This is not the same thing, though, as one feeling that they actually are in danger, and that's the criteria.
Well, that is the criteria. And you being a lawyer by profession, you would know better than me. I'm not refuting a syllable of what you said. I completely support it 1,000%. And as a black man in America who's been pulled over, who's been cuffed, who's been detained, who's been thrown in jail for a traffic violation. Yes, it happened to me in Troy, Michigan many years ago. I know exactly what you're talking about. And you're absolutely 1,000% on the money. But that's not what we're talking about here, because we're not acting as if the officer is right. Even though they made a point when they said he was a bit cooperative, it still doesn't negate the reality that their physical behavior was completely unnecessary. How they acted towards Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith, his teammates, was completely unnecessary. Even though they didn't identify themselves as his teammates, they identified themselves as his friend. It was all unnecessary. It was all beyond the pale. It was all completely unnecessary, and in one officer's case, it was definitely excessive. But what we're talking about is the importance of black men being able to go home, being able to avoid putting themselves in a position where you can have a rogue police officer whose ego might be a bit compromised, who has a temper tantrum because they're dealing with whatever it is that they're dealing with, and they may be taking it out on a patron or somebody, just a regular citizen. We understand what the dilemma is. So what I'm saying is, when Tyreek Hill looks into the cameras and he says, I did nothing wrong, are you saying that you would do exactly what you did and you would encourage everyone else to do exactly what you did? I would challenge that.
I'm definitely agreeing with Stephen A. Smith on that one, because you're in a high position, you're highly visible. People follow you, right? So this is not leading by example at all. If you do that to them officers and you try to give them a hard time like that, right? And they ask you just a little question, and if they didn't violate your rights, right, then roll down your window. Don't give them a hard time and expect them not to give you a hard time afterwards. They people too. That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm not talking about other situations where they're dead wrong, because some officers is dead wrong. But in this context, in this situation, to me, he was dead wrong. He asked for it. That's like going outside trying to pick a fight, and then you, after someone else, they want to fight you now. Now you're like, oh, no, I don't want to fight anymore. I didn't know you was this strong. Well, didn't you just ask for it? So, you got to take responsibility for your actions. Smash that like button, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's the beginning, this is not the end. Let me know what you think about Tyreek Hill, and was this Tyreek Hill, and was this justified or not? Was he wrong? Was he right? Was the police officers wrong? Was the police officers right? Peace, blessings, and love. And remember, positivity over negativity, always.